pole star is aligned to the North Pole where magnetic north is located. It never moves and has been used for navigation throughout history. And I think that it is the throne of God at the top of the firmament. And this is a depiction of the stars rotating around the North Star, so it would make sense that it is the throne of God. But also that the Kabbalists would make up a different thing about it, of course, so let's look at that. The swastika symbol represents the North Star at its center. It's an approximate representation of the Tianmen, or Gate of Heaven, as the processional north celestial pole, with the pinning chariot constellations in the 4 phases of time. The celestial pivot can be represented by the wand, or the swastika, and secondly, the swastika represents the sun as reflected function of the North Pole. It's a symbol of the supreme principle of the universe in relation to the cosmic order, represented by the G, symbolizing the great architect of the universe of Masonic thought. The swastika represents the north ecliptic pole centered in Draconis, within the constellation Draco. The Mithraic religions believed that the cosmos was pulled by 4 heavenly horses who revolved around a fixed center in a clockwise direction. So in astrology, the pole star is the tail of the dragon of the constellation Draco. And this is it. And it's said that the Ohio Snake Mound and possible other snake mounds are perfectly aligned with the constellation Draco. So it's all associated with the mystery religions and their astrology and planetary intelligence and the fallen angels. And then the commenter on the last video mentioned this, which is likely a made-up story, and you'll see why. And it's about the Rupus Nigra, or the Black Rock, located at the magnetic North Pole, or the North Pole itself. It says a map maker from the 16th century, Gerardus Mercator, described it as a 33 French miles in size, all magnetic stone, providing a supposed explanation for why the compasses point to this location. Mercator described the island in a 1577 letter to John Dee. It says, in the midst of 4 countries is a whirlpool, into which there empty 4 indrawing seas. And this is it right here, which divide the north, and the water rushes around and descends into the earth, just as if one were pouring it through a filter funnel. It is 4 degrees wide on every side of the pole, and right under the pole there lies a bare, black rock in the midst of the sea, and it's glistening, and nothing grows there. And this letter is in the British Museum Library. But his information that he wrote to John Dee was based on a lost travelogue written by a Franciscan friar from Oxford in the 1300s, who supposedly made 6 journeys conducting business on behalf of the King of England, Edward III, otherwise known as the Black Prince, who King Charles always wears the ring of, with his insignia of the Black Prince, which is 3 ostrich feathers, or the crown of Osiris. And that lost book included information also that Greenland was first settled at the orders of King Arthur. So Mercator wrote that information to John Dee based on his lost travelogue from 100 years prior. Not likely. And that's the book. And there's another thing that is interesting about this fascination with the pole star, which I covered in my video titled Celestial Maps. And the title of this article is 26,000-Year Astronomical Monument Hidden in Plain Sight. And this is the monument that commemorates Hoover Dam, commissioned and paid for by our government and dedicated under Franklin Roosevelt in 1935. So this star map was created in collaboration with the Smithsonian Institute, or the British Freemasonic Institute, and the U.S. Naval Observatory. The star map is a terrazzo floor, and it was marking the time of the dam's creation based on the axial precession of the Earth around the pole star, influenced by a Mayan calendar as a type of 10,000-year-old clock, created by Oscar Henson, who was a major in the Army and who wrote about theology and astrology, but his best-known work was These Fallen Angels in the Star Map. at Hoover Dam. Markings on the floor show that Thuban was the North Star for the ancient Egyptians at the time of the Great Pyramids. And apparently there are other megalithic structures aligned to the pole star at specific times also. And another weird thing is that the whole idea of Santa Claus living at the North Pole may have been the creation of a political cartoonist in 1869, accompanied by a poem by George Webster, who wrote that Santa Claus' home was near the North Pole of ice and snow. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, in summary, there seems to be something sacred about the pole star and the North Pole with these mystical mystery religions and their ongoing astrology worship. It's connected to the swastika, the constellation Draco, the alignment of megalithic structures to the North Pole star, and possibly even Santa Claus. And I'm not saying that I believe that there is a hole in the North Pole where a magnetic volcano is located that is exactly 33 French miles wide, like that Mercado, the traveling pirate, had reported to John Dee on some lost book, because, I mean, it's probably made up, because they lie as part of their religion. Or it could also be a fantasy by these people, commissioned by the kings and queens of England, because we know they're usually tripping. Because that's a given, because that's part of their religion also. Doing psychedelics, always. You got the mandrake in Assyria, the lotus in Egypt, the ayahuasca with the shamans, the magic mushrooms with Lewis Carroll, LSD with the CIA, opium with the Scythians, magic mushrooms done at the WEF with their shaman, witch-blowing kisses or whatever she's doing to the attendees. So we can't believe anything they say, but it's definitely not ended with the Middle Ages, obviously. Thanks for listening.